I'm Jeanette Keynes from Jewelry Arts Inc. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to beautifully and safely clean up your 22 karat gold granulation. I only figured this method out a few years ago, and I promise it's going to blow your mind. So, I trimmed a little bit of the extra sheet off of here, but I'll do a full trimming after it's shipped to the magnetic tumbler. Some of you may be shocked and horrified by the idea of this, but here's the thing. If any of these granules are gonna come off, I want them to go ahead and come off because it's not a huge deal if I lose a few of these to stick a few back in there and put it back in the kiln and fuse it. The problem, like I was saying before, is if you're at the point where you're setting your stone or you're putting a post on or you're doing some nonsense like that, and then, oh fuck, some granules fall off, and then it's way more problematic to fix it. So even though the natural instinct is to like baby this and like, oh no, I don't want to touch it, I don't want to like, but what if I knock a granule off? Like, no, you want to knock a granule off. Now, you must be vicious and cruel. So I started using the magnetic tumbler, I don't know how long ago, and it works fucking amazing. And the secret to it is this. You see these little, for those of you who know about tumbling, you have steel shot in there and it tumbles around and it burnishes. So this works a little bit different. First, it has these little tiny pins. Now, those little tiny pins get into every ridiculous tiny spot like all of this really fine granulation, which nothing else would. Like you could put this in a regular tumbler, but you wouldn't be getting, in those little spots. It will clean up every molecule of this, like super pristine, A, amazing. And B, if a granule comes off at this stage, oh, oops, put it back in the kiln, fuse it back on. So actually this is like all bonus, no downside. Another thing for those of you who have tried to clean up granulation is pretty impossible to clean up because anything you do to polish will start to flatten out the granules. The only thing that we ever could do, back in the olden days, jewelry making BC, is you could take pumice and a toothbrush and a little water, and you can scrub it with that, and it won't give you a shiny finish, but it will sort of tidy it up a little. But granulation really resists cleanup of any kind because, like I said, anything you do to abrade this, any sanding, any polishing, just starts to flatten the granules and then it doesn't look good. So this is fucking amazing, like life-changing thing. For people who are just starting out, you don't need to go out and get a magnetic tumbler, but if you're doing granulation, if you're doing stuff like filigree, if you're doing work regularly that has a lot of small details and whatever, and you're having a hard time cleaning it up, this will rock your world. So there's a bunch of different kinds of magnetic tumblers. I've tried multiple ones. This is my favorite, even though it has a super ridiculous, made up sounding name, like Super Finish Jewelry Tools, but this is actually great. So what's great about it is that you can adjust the speed, because when this thing goes, the way that this all moves, so I'm just gonna take these two just to show you, plop it in there, lid on, put it on here, I'm gonna turn it on, I'll set the timer for maybe about 10 minutes. So you see what happens? Basically there's a magnet in there, and the magnet is what's pulling those little pins around. So it doesn't just tumble, they actually get driven into all the little areas, which works really well. But you can, if you want, you can do something more like this. If I'm doing something a little more fragile, or I want it to move more slowly because I don't want, if you do a hollow granulated ball, you can use this to clean it up and it'll do a gorgeous job, but you wouldn't want to do it high speed because then it could kind of be smacking into the walls here. You see what I'm saying? With this in here, that's not really going to hurt it for this particular thing. That's why I like this particular magnetic tumbler, is because most of them do not have a speed setting. And it's just you turn it on, it goes at whatever fucking speed it wants, and that may be too gentle or too rough for your project. So I it may not surprise you, control freakery is our thing. That's why I really like this. Another advantage to this is that this works really fast. I'm gonna put this in here for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and it's gonna be shiny and gorgeous and done. So it doesn't take nearly the amount of time that a regular tumbler makes. Now, one thing though, just so that you know, if you have a regular tumbler and you're like, but do I need a magnetic tumbler? Like, what's the difference? You know, a regular tumbler basically burnishes. It has steel shot and it slowly rolls around in there. And if you leave it in there long enough and you've prepped your surface, you'll get a mirror finish, you know, like, you know, really smooth and shiny. Because this has more texture, it has all those little pins that are kind of getting, you know, whacked into it. It will be shiny, but not like smooth mirror shine. It's almost more like we almost think of it like as an orange peel finish. Like it's shine. I'll show you when it comes out so you can see what I'm talking about. But like usually this isn't the kind of thing. If you're like, I've made a big smooth cuff bracelet and I want like high shine, you wouldn't really go with that. With this, you'd put it in a tumbler. But anything with lots of little detail, you know, this is like the shit. So I'm gonna leave it in there for, I don't know, 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. And we'll also, of course, then look and see if any of my granules fell off. Okay? So all I did was I dumped out the water so that we can see this a little better. And one thing that I forgot to mention before, they have like the little line right here to show you how much to fill up the water. And then usually you just put a drop or two of Dawn or tumbler compound in there, you know, just like with a normal tumbler to kind of keep things clean. Now, take a look. I mean, right? It like makes them so beautiful and clean and just gorgeous. And then of course, I look at it to only dry it off maybe a tiny bit more. You know, did any granules come off? Doesn't look like it to me, so that's really good. But you see what I mean by like, it's shiny, but it's not like mirror shiny. We were saying before, it's almost like a frosty, shiny, I don't know, everyone has different words. You know what I mean, for like what that looks like to them. But as far as I'm concerned, I think that's a beautiful finish and it's fine the way it is. But let's say it came out and you're like, oh, I want it not quite so shiny. Then we would go back to what we were saying before, use some very fine pumice and water and a toothbrush, and you could go over and it would just like take the shine back a little bit. You know what I mean? But, which I know I'm making faces at Alexis because she often wants a little less shine than I do. I'm not at full mirror ball, but I like a little, you know, glitter. Glitter is good. So basically, if you're brand new, you're not doing this stuff a lot, you don't need one of these. But if you're doing stuff like a lot of granulation, filigree, things with a lot of little detail, this will kind of save your bacon, and it's a beautiful thing. So we're gonna have it on the website. So if you want one, you know where to get it. So now that I'm sure all my granules are on and everything is good, I can finish trimming. I can also get ready to solder my bezels into that space. I usually just ball up the solder and put it on the inside and do it from underneath on a tripod, but I'll do a demo for that when I'm ready. They look good to me, so I'm ready to go on.